Welcome back, and today we have another week of box office. And yes, I know the video quality might look lesser than, or it might look a little different. I'm filming on my phone and not my computer, but we are back, and we have some very interesting developments. And Juliet performed to 91% last week, and 781K to 92% this week, and 808K this week. Again, not terrible, but also not amazing. If you look at Anne Juliet's grosses over 2025, it's actually done very consistent numbers, 1,000,000, 900, 800K. So I don't think anyone needs to be concerned about it. I think it's just having a minor boop, or not boop, but bump. And I have noticed that around May, a lot of the older shows tend to not do as well. So I think that's just like a common thing that happens. Boop, speaking of Boop, needs to, it's done, man. It's done. Listen, again, I don't want these shows to close. I don't want these things to go away, because obviously these are people's livelihoods, but I'm just telling you how it is. And Boop is not doing sustainable numbers. It has to make 817K a week, and it's making 514K just this week alone, and 78% capacity. So even the capacity isn't that high. And last week it did 508K and 78%. So it stayed on capacity-wise. Boop, it's gonna close soon. It's gonna close soon. I think we can move on. Visa Social Club made its highest gross yet. 95% last week, 99% this week. 1,075,909 last week, and 1,164,304 this week. Cabaret is continuing to do very poor. Last week, 79% and 750K. This week, 88% and 822K. Again, this is, obviously this is an improvement, but if you've seen the Broadway Journal reports or whatever, I think it needs to make 1.1 million a week just to stay on top. And this is not 1.1 million at all. There are rumors that Miley Cyrus is supposed to be in this next, so if that's the case, then I can see why they're going to keep it going. But I think this just goes to show that stunt casting revivals is not, in my opinion, a very long-standing financial model. Dead Outlaw continues to do very solid numbers, 85% last week, 84% this week, 484K last week, 507K this week. Is it losing money? Yes. Is it technically doing bad? Yes. But for a prestige musical that is, relying on Tonys, it is doing decent. It's doing what it's expected, and it's going up every single week, even if it's not like from 484 to 700,000, but it's slowly doing its bit by bit, and that's what you want to see. Death Becomes Her had a huge increase, 89% and 1,076,188 to 98% and 1,343,867. Again, proving that Visa Social Club and Dead Outlaw, and Death Becomes Her, they don't need the nominations, and they don't even need the wins, because they're already winning at the box office. Floyd Collins, which I did see, was amazing. That's coming out later, the review for that, and the Boop review. I know I said I was going to do that, I said I was going to do that, 2 weeks ago, but life's been crazy. But it's coming. Floyd Collins, 68% last week, and 501K to 75%, or 76%, and 511K. Obviously, it is a very niche musical. Having seen it, there was a lot of empty seats, sadly, but having seen the musical, I can understand why it doesn't appeal to a larger commercial audience, and how this is probably better fit for, a smaller venue. Gypsy, 77% last week, and 1,117,085 to 76%, and 1,180,227. Hadestown had its worst week in months, 90% last week, and 614K to 94% and 594K. It's actually done very well in 2025, so I don't think the show is going to close at the end of the year, because it's done 1 million to 800K, the occasional 7. And this is its first big money losing week, and last week was too, but this is pretty bad. I think if Hadestown stays the course on this, yes, it could end this year. I have a feeling like it could end next year. It's been very much on the will they, won't they situation since 2023. And as you know, they've done nothing but stunt casting since then to keep it afloat. And for a while, I thought, okay, stunt casting isn't happening now. It's doing very good numbers. And now we're seeing this huge decrease. But again, I think that Hadestown has just been on extended life support because of the stunt casting. And again, some shows just lose their spark. Enough people have seen it. And every show has its time. And Hadestown had its time. It was supposed to have its time 2 years ago, and it got extended. But eventually, it catches up with you. Father Time, as we say, is the ultimate killer. Harry Potter is doing significantly horrible. 71% and 814K last week, and 75% and 710K. This is not sustainable at all. If they continue these numbers, it's closing this year. There is no doubt in my mind. Truly, it is fallen off. But again, with Hadestown and with Harry Potter, both of these shows have been going on for almost 10 years. Hadestown for like 6 years, Harry Potter for 7 years, I believe. So it makes sense why both of these shows are starting to slow down in terms of money. But it is very interesting that for Harry Potter, that it is fallen so much. And I do wonder if that is because of J.K. Rowling's controversy. I can only imagine it is. But I think the bigger issue is that Potter fans do not like Cursed Child. Therefore, repeat viewings are not going to be, like, the standard. And they just created a not-so-great show, but with great effects. Hell's Kitchen, 85% last week, and 911K to 93%, and 1,064,763. Just in Time is a mammoth of a hit, selling out and going from 1,119,011 to 1,173,110 for an average ticket of $206. I really don't think it would be doing these kind of numbers if it wasn't for Jonathan Groff. Because let's be honest, it's the Jonathan Groff production. I think if he wasn't in this would be doing like under $1 million. I really believe that. I mean, people love the show, but I think they love Jonathan Groff. You know, that's why it's a limited engagement, because producers very smartly know you take out Groff, the audience goes away. Maybe Happy Ending had its first week of $1 million since Christmas. 97% last week to 99% this week, and 903K to $1 million, 927. Moulin Rouge, 96% last week, and 1,178,862 to 97%, and 1,148,184. Again, it's doing decent, but we've heard rumors it's closing at the end of the year. Boy George is helping those numbers significantly, but even compared to his first time in Moulin Rouge, these are much softer numbers. But it's still doing decent. Mincemeat is doing very solid, 95% and 744K last week to 96% and 761K. And again, I think the limited engagement, the fact that its cult audience can buy tickets, is the two core reasons why I think Mincemeat is becoming such a huge success, despite not having any big stars or major IP. Curves, 71% last week, 317K, 66%, 385K. At this point, we're just waiting. I don't think I need to explain to you why that's so bad. And then we got Redwood, which is closing, 76% last week, and 565K to 74%, and 627K. Six is doing some pretty weak numbers, but I think it's fine. 76% last week, and 618K to 78% and 610K. It's been going on for 3 years now, so it makes sense why 6 is starting to slow down, but it's such an inexpensive production. They've done so well this year, if you look at the past grosses, that I think that they're fine. If they fall like 400K, then yeah, they'll probably close this year, but I still think they have a couple more years left in them. Smash is feeling the post-Tony snubs. 78% last week and 909K to 76% and 838K. Yikes. I do think this is going to be our next New York. We will see, but it is declining significantly week to week, and the capacity is very weak, and so is the gross. You know, if the capacity was stronger, I think there might have been hope. I think it's done well enough, and I think it won't fall off too heavily that it could last until the end of the year, but we will see. Stranger Things, The First Shadow, is doing really bad, surprisingly. 76% last week and 906K to 82% and 880K. And I think that I explained why I think it's not doing so well. I think that people don't care about Stranger Things unless it's season 5. I do think when season 5 comes out, the interest will come up. But I think that a lot of people seem to not know it exists. And I think there's a lot of people that don't really like it. Critics didn't like the show at all. And I feel like a lot of audience members maybe aren't liking it. My review for that is also coming out. It was a month ago. But I also thought it was pretty horrible up until the Act 2. So it's an embarrassment for Netflix. Is it a flop? Can't say that yet. I think that if it does these numbers in the summer, yes, it's a flop. I don't think it's going to close this in the next year. I think it's just having a hard time adjusting, but, you know, it's definitely very interesting, very unexpected. Sunset, 81% to 81%, and 1,020,971 to 1,115,410 this week. Gatsby, 83% to 84%, and 908K last week to 943K. This is definitely its weakest grosses since like the beginning of the fall, but it made amazing, big $1 million numbers in January and February. And it's weird because Gatsby you would have expected it to do these numbers in the beginning of the year, not in May, but it's fine. So for you Gatsby fans, don't worry, it's fine. And then the last 5 years, more like the last flop years, I mean, it was there. 83% to 77%, and 613K to 563K. Wow. I mean, the JRB curse strikes again. Infamously, Jason Robert Brown, composer of last 5 years, all of his shows have flopped, minus Parade, and I think that's because it was a limited engagement and it had been platinum. And it's crazy to think that this show, the word of mouth really killed this show. I think if this didn't have Nick Jonas in it, it would be doing better. Maybe not significantly better, but better. You know, it's interesting because Jason Robert Brown said in an interview with Ben Platt's brother on a podcast, that Nick Jonas was brought in to sell tickets, and it's the opposite. And then The Outsiders, 99% to 99%, and 1,124,988 to 1,102,032. Its weakest weeks ever, but again, it has made millions of dollars. It's going to do great over the summer, so don't worry. So do not be concerned. So that's my video. Like, sub, and comment. Follow me on Instagram. I also want to give a huge shout out to the Todrick Hall for inviting me to a workshop of his musical Midnight. It was, I'm not going to spoil it or tell you anything, but it was crazy to be in the same room as people like Kevin McCullen, Abby Lee Miller, Jerry Mitchell. Sorry, Jerry, I don't mean to criticize the show, but I'm just saying how it is. Your show's not doing well. He was bragging about his Tony, though, so that was funny. And I think there was the Outsiders person was there, Joshua Boone, I think Raja Feather Kelly was there, the Who's Who, Stephen, I think, who was it? Lots of big people were there. But anyways, I want to thank him for inviting me to that. It was such an honor. I couldn't believe I was in the same room as those people. That felt very bad and not right. It felt like I'm this small-time creator, but I do think this extends into a larger point that I have been doing YouTube for 6 years, for half a decade, and to be getting recognition, subs, and views is amazing, and I want to thank you guys, because without you, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you to Todrick Hall, thank you to you, the fans. Follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.